Alright, so this activity is called Walking to the Library. It says that Lynn and Jada each walk at a steady rate from school to the library. Lynn can walk 13 miles in 5 hours, and Jada can walk 25 miles in 10 hours. They each leave school at 3 o'clock and walk 3 1/4 miles to the library. What time do they each arrive? So, down below you can see that you have been given two tables. And once again, these tables are ratio tables. Ratios are a relationship between two quantities, and so speed is always a ratio, right? So miles per hour. Miles and hours, you put those two together, that's how we can measure speed. So we know that they are going to be walking 3 1/4 miles. So we can add that to both of their tables. So I'm going to leave this middle row blank for now. Here's my miles. I'm going to write this as a decimal instead. Okay. So I know Jada takes 10 hours to walk 25 miles. I want to find out how much time it takes her to walk 3 1/4 miles, though. So, to do that, it's always important to make a unit rate, because 3 25/100ths is not a factor of 25. I cannot easily get from one to the other. So I'm going to turn this into a unit rate first. So I'm going to write this ratio off to the side. Miles and hours, and I'll just go ahead and do the same thing for Lynn. So, since I'm working mainly with the miles is what I'm going to want to turn into 1. So to turn 25 into 1, you need to multiply both sides by 25. Or sorry, divide both sides by 25. And that's 1 mile. And then since I'm working with decimals, use my calculator. 10 divided by 25, 0.4. 4/10. So, Jada's speed is 4/10. Sorry, she goes 1 mile in 4/10 of an hour. And we'll do the same thing for Lynn. So we want to find out how long it takes her to walk 1 mile. So to turn the 13 miles into 1, divide both sides by 13. And 5 divided by 13. That's pretty ugly. So maybe for Lynn's, I'll just leave that as a fraction then. Okay, now this should seem pretty simple, because now I need to get from 1 mile to 3 1/4 miles. So to do that, the unit rates are really nice, because all you have to do once you have the unit rate is multiply by the number you want to find. Okay, and I already know that this is going to be that. 0.4 times 3.25 is 1.3. Okay, and then I'm going to turn this back into this and multiply that by 3.25. I get 1.25. Okay, awesome. So I know that it takes Jada 1 3/10 hours to walk to the library, and it takes Lynn 1 25/100ths hours to walk to the library. But that should sound kind of funky, right? Because we don't really talk about time in decimals. So we want to convert this into hours and minutes. So I already know this is 1 hour, but how many minutes is 3/10? So to do that, I'm going to take those 60 minutes and multiply it times 3/10. 18. So this is actually 1 hour and 18 minutes. And here, once again, to find out what this is in hours and minutes, I need to find what 25 hundredths of 60 is. That's 15. So this is 1 hour and 15 minutes. So to go back to the question, they each leave school at 3 and walk 3 1/4 miles to the library. What time do they each arrive? So if she left at 3 and it takes her 1 hour and 18 minutes, then she would arrive at 4:18. And Lynn would arrive at 1 hour and 15 minutes after 3. 4:15 is when Lynn arrives. So Lynn would just be beating Jada by a few minutes. So once again, just to recap, you've got our ratio table. We know that they have to walk 3 1/4 miles. So we have to take that initial ratio and turn it into a unit rate, scaling down to scale back up. And it's also important, whenever you're working with a certain unit of measure, so time, you don't want to leave time in, decimal form, because that's just not how we talk about time. So always being cognizant of actually taking those funky numbers. We do this with money as well a lot of times, and then turn it into like an actual normal way of like speaking about it. So 1.25 hours, no, that's 1 hour and 15 minutes.